Bang! Hey gang, I'm Dr. Who. This is Accounting is a Joke, where accounting makes sense so you can make dollars. Today we're going to take a look at a walkthrough problem on how to properly record under the LIFO method. If you're unfamiliar to the LIFO method, don't fret gang, I'll drop a link to get you up to speed in no time. So with that being said, let's get it. So it tells us Boston Cycle started October with 12 bicycles that cost $42. On October 16th, Boston purchased 40 bicycles at $68. On October 30th, Boston sold 34 bicycles for $100 each. They want us to prepare perpetual inventory recording, assuming the company uses LIFO. Journalize the October 16th purchase and October 31st sale of merchandise on the account. Alright gang, so we're dealing with inventory. And what you need to realize about inventory is there are costing methods that will dictate the cost of ending inventory that will belong on the balance sheet, as well as the cost of goods sold that will be reported on the income statement. Now of these particular costing methods, they have their plus and minuses about which one to choose what. However, we're dealing with LIFO, and each one of those particular cost and inventory systems will have different numbers for cost of goods sold and in inventory. So under LIFO, it tells us that the last units that was purchased for the period will be the first units to be sold. So if we're looking at an imaginary list in my hand right here, and we're talking about utilizing LIFO, the units sold will always come from the last purchases, the bottom of this particular list, gang. Your cost of goods sold will start from the bottom. However, whatever you don't sell, your ending inventory will always sit at the top, the earliest purchases, gang. So with that being said, let's get to the problem. It tells us to prepare Boston Cycle's perpetual inventory record, assuming the company uses LIFO. Okay, so they gave us a chart or a table that they want us to fill out. And basically this table consists of 3 columns. Purchases for the period, units sold for the period, and the inventory that is left, that's remaining, your ending inventory for the period. And so since we're utilizing the perpetual system, we must remember that under the perpetual system, in terms of recording inventory, we always adjust our inventory account based on every purchase and every sale, which means we journalize it after each transaction. The perpetual system also tells us when it's time to account for our sales, we account for them immediately as they occur. So first they want us to account for the beginning of the period, October 1st. So we read in the description that we started out with 12 bicycles at $42 each. Gang, this is our beginning inventory. This is the units that we started out with for the period. So we're going to go all the way to our inventory on hand column, which represents our units available. And we're going to input the amount. 12 units was the quantity, and the cost for each one of those units was $42. Therefore, our total cost, all we have to do is simply multiply the 12 times the 42. That will give us $504. We're going to check our answer. Nice work, gang. Next, we now are going to account for the October 16th transaction, which consists of the purchase of 40 bicycles at $68 each. So, since we're dealing with a purchase, we're going to fill that in the purchase column. So obviously we're going to put the 40 bicycles for the quantity, and the unit cost each was $68. Total cost, simply multiply those two numbers out, and that'll give us $27.20 for our total cost. Now that we've made additional purchase of inventory for the period, it's going to change our units available, our inventory on hand. Gang, remember we started out with 12 units in beginning inventory at a cost of $42, but we just made an additional purchase of 40 more units at a different cost. So we have to account for those. So what we're going to do is bring down our initial beginning inventory units at a total cost of $504, and then we're going to add the most recent purchase on the 16th of the 40 units at $68, which gives us a total cost of $2,720. We're going to check the answer. Great job, gang. And last but not least, we have to account for the sale that took place on October 31st. Now, gang, what I need you guys to focus on is that in the description they told us that on October 31st, Boston sold 34 bicycles at $100 each. Do not, I repeat, do not consider the selling price of $100 in this calculation of your units. Why? Because we are dealing with costing methods. We want to know how much the units cost us. That $100 simply reflects how much we sold the units for, i.e. the selling price or the revenue that was earned. That has no relevance to the computation of calculating our cost of our goods that we sold or the cost of the goods that we have left in inventory. So don't get confused. What they want to know is, of those 34 bicycles we sold, how much did they cost us? And how are we going to find that out? By utilizing LIFO, gang. So we know we have 34 units that we have to account for, but we first have to identify which ones came out first. And since we're practicing LIFO, all 34 units are going to come out the last purchase. And what was the last purchase? The last purchase was the 40 units at $68 on October 16th. Therefore, we're going to sell 34 of those units at a cost of $68. And that will give us a total cost of $2,312. Now, it's time to focus on the units we have left in ending inventory. So gang, we just sold 34 units that came from that October 16th purchase, initially of 40 units. But we also didn't sell any units in beginning inventory. They are still available on hand, so we need to report those. So we're going to report the 12 units at $42, which gives us a total cost of $504. And we still have some units left from the October 16th purchase of 40 units. We only sold 34. So if we subtract 34 from 40, that gives us 6, gang. 6 units we have left in ending inventory at a cost of $68, which gives us a total cost of $408. We're going to check that answer. Excellent work, gang. And last but not least, we're going to sum up the totals for each column. We know that our purchases were 40 units total for the period with a total cost of $27.20. We also know we sold 34 units that had a total cost of $23.12. And we have 18 units left in ending inventory with a total cost. If we add the 504 plus the 408, that'll give us $912. We're going to check our answer. Nice work, gang. So now we are going to record the October 16th purchase of merchandise inventory. That's easy breezy, gang. We know when we record on our account, we always debit inventory and we credit accounts payable. We also know we've already calculated the total cost of that October 16th purchase. That was $2,720. We're going to check our answer. Good job, gang. Last but not least, we need to account for the sale from October 31st, the 34 units, remember? Now, anytime you sell an inventory, you always have 2 transactions you have to account for. One to account for the revenue that was earned, and the other to account for the expense that was incurred for selling inventory. Remember, gang, inventory is an asset when you buy it, but the minute you sell it, an expense is created. That expense is called cost of goods sold. Now, we're going to account for the revenue first. And remember what I told you in the earlier part of this particular video. That $100 that we sold those 34 bicycles for is going to dictate how much revenue was earned. And so to account for the revenue, we're simply going to debit accounts receivable and credit sales revenue for the $3,400. Now, how did I get the $3,400? 34 units times $100 each. Bada bing, bada boom. We're going to check the answer. Nice work, gang. And we're not done just yet. We have to account for the cost of goods sold. We have to put that expense on the books while simultaneously adjusting our inventory. So we're going to debit cost of goods sold, and we're going to credit inventory for the cost of those 31 units. And we remember the cost of those units, gang. The cost of those 31 units was $23.12. We're gonna check our answer. Fantastic. So there you have it, gang. A quick, easy, beautiful explanation of how to record using the LIFO method. So if that light bulb was clicking upstairs and that's bringing you closer to chasing the bag with this accounting information, like, subscribe, and share the channel with your friends so they can chase the bag as well. As always, gang, I'm Dr. Who, and it's my humble pleasure for y'all to share y'all time with me. It means a lot, and I'll see you soon. Bags!